I'm actually just going to put my picture there, so you,
Oh yeah,
you
that'd be
can
perfect.
still see me.
Yeah.
Let's get started. Hello all. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on yet another Veritas webinar. Today we are going to talk about introducing Veritas Merge1 and Merge1 capabilities and the whole reason why we are looking at Merge1 as a solution. So as we roll into 2021, I just wanted to start with a few magic numbers that we've come across. So in 2020, purely within the single year, we have seen 80 million net new users on Teams. The Teams as a platform has just expanded so quickly, and within that 12 months, we've seen that adoption of 80 million users right on the top. Now, that said, Sam, are you able to take us to the next screen? Thank you, Sam, and sorry for the glitch, folks. This is 2021. We are all reliant on our communication platforms here. So getting back in a moment.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Sam. And
great. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you, Sam. We are just waiting for the slide. Should be up in a moment. I'm glad we are seeing the participants are coming in quick and fast. So thank you all for joining in again. We're just trying to get the screen share started. Yep, we can see the screen now, Sam. And
okay, great.
Give me a quick click check on the screen. Yep, brilliant. All right. So again, thank you all for joining in. And as we want to talk through what Merge1 as a solution can do with with the platform. Before I get started, I just wanted to talk through a few magic numbers. Now, 80 million is just the number of users that we've seen on board Teams as a platform in 2020. That's a phenomenally large number when we talk about just 1 year's time frame. Now, having said that, there are 12 million messages that a single platform like Slack transacts daily. 12 million messages daily. Now, this is where the world has moved, not just because of the pandemic, but the adoption of new platforms have come in so significantly. Now, today, what we are going to do is we are going to walk you through how Veritas enables you to be compliant and address your compliance with all of these messages and users across the collaboration platforms. But as I get started, for this session, if you stay along throughout the session, till the end of the session, we will give you an Uber Eats voucher or a Grab Food voucher. So make sure that you hang around till the end, and after the session, we'll send out your vouchers via email. So with that said, I am now going to introduce the speakers for today. We have Sam Elbeck. Sam is our Senior Director, Digital Compliance at Veritas. Sam is based out of the States, and Sam leads the Merge1 and the GlobalNet portfolio for Veritas. We also have Dave Flanders, who's our subject matter expert here with digital compliance. So Sam and Dave will walk us through the session today. I also have with me James Wong and Jermaine from the technical community. So Jermaine, James, and I will help you address any questions. Now, with questions, make sure that you ask your questions throughout the session. We would make a full attempt to answer your questions during the session on the chat Q&A window. And if there are some questions that we are not able to address or answer during the session, we will, of course, reach out to you separately after the session. So make sure it's an interactive session. Bring on your questions in the Q&A section. And to support the whole webinar, I have Julie and Trudy with me. So thanks, Julie, and thanks, Trudy, for putting this together. And with that said, and without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Sam. Over to you, Sam.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Amit. Appreciate it. And sorry, everyone, for the little glitch. It may happen again. Sometimes the internet tends to be unstable. But let's go ahead and jump into today's discussion. So When we look at data privacy and data capture, historically, it was email that we were focused on capturing. So many of you have started with Enterprise Vault or EV Cloud, or maybe don't have an archive but are looking at one. And many of that is to capture email and discover against email. And over the years, since 2000, 2004, 2015, and 2020, we start seeing more and more regulations pop up across the globe. We had in the US FINRA and CFTC. GDPR came into effect in EMEA and in the UK. And now we're starting to see more and more of these regulations come out. A common misconception is, when we talk about electronic data, a lot of times we're talking about only email. These regulations are across the board, across all the communication channels that are needed to run an organization today. And that's where Merge1 comes into play, and the platform that we're going to talk about, capturing all these different data sources, where it sits in the Veritas portfolio. So in September of last year, Veritas acquired Globanet. That's actually the company that I had come from. And Globanet was a leader in data capture. We've been partnered with Veritas for 20 years prior to the acquisition, and we had over 200 customers utilizing Merge1 with Veritas solutions to capture data from all these different data streams. Globanet has a few other solutions. I'm going to touch on another one at the end of the presentation that's very relevant to the audience today. But the one we're going to focus on is Merge1 data capture, meeting compliance requirements, and where it fits into the digital compliance portfolio at Veritas. So a quick recap, for those of you who are familiar with Enterprise Vault, EV Cloud, and digital compliance, this looks familiar to you. For those of you who may not have a view of our entire portfolio, just wanted to show you where Merge1 fits in and the different solutions in this portfolio. On the left-hand side, you'll see info governance. That's all about data visibility, which we have data insight. Merge1, which is another solution which is a solution that captures data and gives you visibility into many different content sources. Data insight gives you visibility into file system content sources, and classification allows you to classify data as it's coming to your organization to give you visibility into the different types of data that you may have. If you move to the right, you'll see archiving and backup. Again, Enterprise Vault and EV Cloud are well known for archiving. They've been the leaders in the space for 20 years. And we also have a solution that helps with backing up Microsoft 365 and other solutions as needed. Moving to the right further, you'll see compliance and risk. This is really where a lot of focus is for many organizations, many financials, and even non-financials. The ability to capture data and meet compliance requirements, meet government regulations, and mitigate risk comes with the solutions like advanced supervision, supervised data that's coming in, be alerted of certain data points that are coming in as they're coming in, and Merge1 allows you to be compliant across all the different data sources that you may have. And finally, on the right-hand side, this is about reactive discovery, discovering data when needed. If you have users that are using email, you can discover it. If you have users using Slack, MS Teams, Zoom, in this case, you can discover that data as well and do it either on-prem or in the cloud. The flexible deployment, the breadth of our portfolio covers you from the entire EDRM model, from compliance, from identification of data, from archiving, and from real-time discovery. Our portfolio covers the entire gamut of what's needed for compliance and supervision. So that's a quick overview before we get into Merge1 of digital compliance. And finally, just for a quick touch points, we've been very fortunate to receive Gartner's Peer Insights Customer Choice Award. This is an award from clients in the archiving space using archiving solutions that awarded it to Veritas because of our support, because of our product vision, and because of the things we're doing with our product. We are still the #1 archive software vendor globally when it comes to deployments. We're a top player in the Radicati Magic Quadrant for Market Quadrant for information archiving. 73 of the top 100 financial institutions use Veritas solutions for compliance archiving e-discovery, and we are the only solution on the market that allows for flexible deployment, meaning we can be on-prem, we can be in your Azure environment, we can be in a complete SaaS-based environment as well if you don't want anything on site or in your environments at all. And we have an integrated classification engine. Many of our clients have told us that this is a very important item for them to classify data within our solutions in real time, and that's something that we can do. So data that comes in with social security numbers or with ID numbers or with passport numbers, whatever it may be, needs to be classified in a certain way, we can do that. So we continue to invest in this portfolio. We've acquired Globanet. We continue to build into our roadmap solutions that are best of breed for our clients, and we continue to focus on that space. So that's the digital compliance portfolio, and now today's focus is going to be on Merge1. Merge1 is a single platform, which many of our clients have asked for. Some of our clients and some of our departments use Slack. Some of them use MS Teams. We use Zoom for data capture. We need one solution that can capture this data intelligently, store it into a location that can be indexed, discover that data as coming through, and make it available for review as needed. And that's what Merge1 is. Merge1 has 80+ different platforms it can capture data from. We like to divide it up by looking on the left-hand side as collaboration: Slack, Teams, Jabber, Jive, WebEx Teams, Zoom. That's a lot of what's happening today. And during the last few years with the pandemic, the need to capture this data, store it, see what's going on with communications has been exasperated. And we have been able to help many of our clients make sure that they stay compliant with these different regulations. Document collaboration on the right-hand side, Box, OneDrive, Dropbox. As you move from on-prem solutions to cloud-based solutions, you need to be able to capture that data, store that data, or discover it in place. And we can also do that with our solution set, which we'll touch on as we go through this. Financial platforms, that's really the bread and butter of where we started, being able to capture Bloomberg data, trades taking place, communications around trades, Symphony, Icon, Redtail Speak, and Yield Broker is one of our newer solutions that we capture. And I know that's a big one in Australia that's utilized by many financials. So we released that for many of our customers that are in Australia that had a requirement to capture Yield Broker data. Enterprise tools, ServiceNows, webhooks. And finally, at the end of this is an important aspect because this is what expands Merge1 far beyond the 80 platforms. These are what we call generic connectors. So in situations where our clients have homegrown solutions, an example is a government organization had a solution, a homegrown solution, where they had mentors chatting with mentorees, kids that they would want to help out in the community, and they stored that all into a SQL database. So we're able to go into the SQL database, capture that communication, archive, store it, and make it discoverable. Another good example here is one of our very large customers in the APAC region in China. They had a specific need to capture data like Qtrade and data like DingTalk, things that we didn't have. So we were able to use our generic connectors, have that data exported out into EML or text delimited, capture that data and archive it as well. So this really makes Merge1 that single platform to capture all your data needs across different platforms that we may not even have on this list that you may need to capture. Now let's look at a typical example. The proactive, yeah.
Before we move ahead, maybe this is a good time to do a quick poll on the previous slide. And Trudy, could you just help us with a poll? And we just wanted to understand what collaboration platforms are currently in use, how you're looking at adopting these collaboration platforms. Maybe you give 5 seconds for people to respond. This is again a multiple selection choice poll. And Sam, it will just give us an idea of how the split of the attendees here are in terms of the platforms. So Trudy, if we can now have the results, that should give Sam a clear view. Okay, there we go, Sam, 80% on Teams. And there's a good split between Zoom as well. So back to you, Sam.
Excellent. Wow, that's a great statistic right there, and it goes with what we're seeing, right? That a lot of Teams usage, a good amount of Slack usage, Zoom. I was surprised to see Zoom at that number. So we used to have many customers asking for WebEx Teams. We still do. WebEx Teams is a popular one, but there's a lot of adoption of Zoom. So great to see that, and thanks, Amit, for jumping in. I'm going to mention one more thing before I go to the next slide. You do see our Q&A panel. Please put your questions in as we're going through it. We've got experts on the panel, James, Jermaine, Amit, Dave Flanders, that can answer your questions as they're coming in. Okay, so going down and seeing how we utilize this, and this is going to give you an example for existing EV and EV Cloud clients, or for new clients who are looking to capture data. This is a perfect way to look at it. We want to provide proactive supervision capabilities for our clients. So if you have EV or EV Cloud today, or are looking to implement it, one of the main reasons will probably be to capture email. If it's M365 email, if it's or Exchange on-prem or Lotus Notes, whatever it may be, you may be using it today for capturing that. You may be using it for PST and NSF data. So Enterprise Vault is this archive solution capturing email, PSTs, NSFs, and file data. So capturing data from your local shares, Windows file data, SharePoint, whatever it may be, and putting it into Enterprise Vault. You may have data insight, which allows you to surgically pull certain types of data and also store it into EV. So as you've seen over the years, as these components have been added, Enterprise Vault has transformed from an email archiving to a client archive to a file system archive. And the next generation of this and the next stage is all the data sources that you can capture into EV and EV Cloud. Merge1, now part of Veritas, is being integrated into the solution, but you can also seamlessly have a server put up and archiving data within a couple of hours, capturing data from Zoom, from Teams, from Slack, and storing it into EV. Now EV and EV Cloud become that single location for all your unstructured data that could easily be discovered or supervised using EDP or Veritas Advanced Supervision. So as data is coming in, we can audit certain types of data, look for keywords like insider information, and immediately let our compliance team know that we are getting data that you need to review. So you archive and manage with EV, you scan and classify with data insight, you capture with Merge1, and discover in compliance with EDP and Veritas Advanced Supervision. So this gives you a full solution that takes you end to end from the moment the message or the chat or the video, whatever it is you're monitoring for, comes into your organization to the moment it leaves, you have full control of your data. That's proactive supervision. Another very popular use case is reactive discovery. So in situations where you may not have an archive, you may just have a need for a discovery tool. And this is used across the boards with legal service providers, with manufacturing companies, with electronics manufacturers, whoever it may be. Everyone needs a way to understand and do discovery against their data. And that's where EDP comes in. EDP can discover data in Office 365, in email, in clients, in file data. And with Merge1, it works with EDP to be able to pull data in real time from specific users and to pull that data and discover against it. So with this, if you wanted to find a Slack message or MS Teams conversation or a Zoom discussion between me and Amit, you can now get all that data. You can get our email, our file data, our Zoom communication from a single discovery search and be able to review it. So, and if Enterprise Vault is in the mix or EV.cloud, that is also, we can discover against that data at the same time. So again, this is your reactive collections use case. And this is where Merge1 is a collection solution that allows you to collect that data and you can scan and discover it in real time. So that gives you an idea of that use case around reactive discovery. And we talked about supervision at the same time, and that's where that comes into play. So let's talk about a couple of use cases. We had a client that had multiple solutions to capture different content sources. They were using maybe a cloud solution for some capture, an on-prem solution, a legacy on-prem solution. They had multiple. Their email was in Office 365 and Exchange on-prem. We call that hybrid mode. They had MS Teams and they needed to capture one-on-one chats while they were in hybrid mode. And the ability to have proactive supervision and reactive discovery, that was what they needed. And there was a need. The hybrid mode capture was something around 3 years ago was not available, but we have a very strong relationship with Microsoft. We work with them regularly. We have access to their export API, to their webhooks API, to their graphs API. So we have our Merge1 solution that was able to accommodate all that. So how we helped as Veritas is we consolidated all the content sources. They had MS Teams, Slack, and Zoom. Merge1 was the solution. They had different archives in place. We migrated the data from the other archives into EV, and they had EV in place as well. So now we consolidated everything into a single archive. They had a cloud initiative. So they were looking at, if we need to consolidate this now, but in 2 years, if we want to move to the cloud, how are we going to do it? Again, being the only vendor that has a cloud solution, has an on-prem solution and a cloud solution, and we can migrate across the two, which is what I'm going to touch on in a few slides. We were able to future-proof them. So if they want to go to EV Cloud in the future, we can migrate their on-prem EV to EV Cloud and give them the same type of solution that they have and they're used to and their e-discovery team is used to. And then e-discovery and supervision, we have Discovery Accelerator, EDP, and Advanced Supervision. So we really checked all the boxes for this large financial. We're able to capture their data globally across different platforms and give them the comfort to know that they can move to a cloud solution in the future if they decide to do so. So this is an example use case. Another use case that may hit closer to home is we've got a very large financial we work with in APJ in the Australia region, and they had similar to this. They use Enterprise Vault, but they needed to capture MS Teams in hybrid mode for 20,000 users. We implemented it for them, we installed it for them, and we were able to get them up and running. And they're a great client of ours, using multiple connectors, and MS Teams being one that they use on a regular basis. And so we have many of those stories. We have hundreds of customers utilizing the Merge1 solution to capture that, and using multiple connectors to do so. So let me move to another offer, a couple of offers that we currently have that we put in place to help with the different requirements our clients have. So many customers have a need to capture multiple solutions, like we talked about Slack, Zoom, WebEx Teams, MS Teams. So we have a bundle where you can acquire 3 connectors and get 5. It's an annual subscription, and it reduces cost and increases your ability for regulatory compliance. That's one of the bundles that we have today. We added another one. We have some of our customers using 15 plus of our connectors. Some of them use 15 to 20, some have 25. And we wanted to put a solution that maximizes their return on investment, and we call that the Merge1 Suite. So our clients could purchase the Merge1 Suite and have access to all our connectors for their users. This is something that they've been asking for a while. We recently released that, and we now have the ability to provide and offer the Merge1 Suite for clients who have multiple connectors. They don't want to worry about buying other connectors. They know they are. This is really good for large customers who know they have multiple connectors that they need to capture on a regular basis. So that's the Merge1 situation. Amit, do you have any questions that you want to bring to the forefront that have been coming up that I think would be worth taking?
Thanks, Sam. There have been a few questions, and I think there was one question around the coverage of teams. The question has been answered, but typically, what is the coverage on Teams communication? Would you want to touch base on that?
Sure. We capture one-on-one chats. We capture team channels. We capture likes and emoticons and emojis and all the different items that are needed. With our webhooks platform connector, we capture edits and deletes. And we pretty much capture everything Microsoft makes available for capture from MS Teams that checks the compliance box. So that's really what we focus on for MS Teams. And as Microsoft evolves, we have literally weekly meetings with them, talking about their advances. We let them know when they have some issues within the API that they need to adjust. They're currently working on a couple bugs within their API based on feedback we've given them. So our relationship with them is fantastic. And as they advance their APIs, we advance with them in real time.
Perfect. Sounds good, Sam. And the other validation point is we have few customers, actually quite a few customers now on the Teams connector, and they've been able to manage their e-discovery searches based on our capabilities.
Yeah, we have many customers on, not just a few. We have dozens upon dozens of clients utilizing our MS Teams connectors and our different methods. We capture data from MS Teams using different APIs, and as that's evolved, we have many customers utilizing the different APIs that we use.
Brilliant, sounds good. I think we're good on questions. Sam, back to you.
Okay. Great. All right. So let's have another poll before we. I want to talk a little bit about flexible deployment for in general and how we manage that. But we have another poll question that we want to bring up. And this is around, what is your strategy to transform to cloud-based archiving? We'll give a minute or so for everyone to answer that. Are you planning on moving to the cloud in the next 6 months, 12 months for your archive? Do you want to keep it on-prem? No plans to move to the cloud? We really want to get an understanding of that from our existing participants.
All right, I think we can close the poll and see what the results are. There we go, Sam.
Okay, great. So that is, again, what we're seeing, that between 30 to 40% of clients want to remain on-prem, and over the next 12 months, a good amount of clients are looking to move to cloud solutions or already in the cloud. Excellent. And that brings us to our next topic that we want to touch on, which is over the years, many of our clients have been looking at, they have EV on-prem, they are looking to potentially move to a cloud-based solution. And EV Cloud is the solution that we move our clients to. What we've done to make it even easier is excuse me, provided a solution. With the Globant acquisition came a product called Migrate. And Migrate allows you to seamlessly move across different archives. And we have made the migration from EV to EV Cloud very seamless with full fidelity. And for clients that are looking to move from EV to EV Cloud, in many cases, we can subsidize that migration. So we can move them at no cost and for a 3-year term. And what we've done is we've provided parity across both Enterprise Vault and EV Cloud. So if you're used to doing searches and discovery in EV on-prem, then when you move to EV Cloud, you will do them in very similar manners. You have very similar feature sets. You'll have very similar abilities to capture data from different sources, supervision, classification, a lot of that, if all of it is built into EV. And that's why we identify zero learning curve there. So the whole idea here is make it very easy for clients who want to move to the cloud to move to the cloud. Clients who want to stay on-prem can stay on-prem. Clients who want to move to Azure, we can move them to Azure. So giving that flexible deployment across your archive and being able to provide a full fidelity situation during that process is important. Whenever you move to a cloud archive, full fidelity is extremely important, and Merge1 and Veritas Migrate is the solution that's supported by Veritas. That makes it very simple. It's the quickest, most efficient, most secure way to provide a migration from your on-prem solution to EV Cloud. So for those of you who answered, you do have initiatives in the next 12 months to move from EV to EV Cloud, please reach out so we can tell you a little bit more about this offer and seamless migration that we have and how we go about doing it. Okay, and moving to this examples of the client base that we have. We've got many different clients that across the past 20 years that have used our solution sets that have utilized it for supervision, for discovery, for data capture, and we continue to look to support them through the years and support our current clients as well. So with that, I'll open it to maybe we can take some live Q&A and see if there's anything else, or if anybody else wants to chime in on anything.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sam. Thank you for the insightful session. Now, I am actually going to cover a couple of questions that are interesting, and they re-emphasize a few things that we've spoken about. The other question was around, does Merge1 also help with immutability use cases for data retention and compliance? So we have James, who's already answered the question, but maybe did you want to talk a little more about it, Sam?
Immutability, so the ability to store data is on worm storage, right? To make sure that it stays and retained for a certain period of time. Is that the question?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, we have those options both on EV and EV Cloud, and we for on-prem we pretty much support almost any NetApp, snapshots, and Vault Snap, and Centera's, many different worm storages. For EV Cloud, we also have immutable storage and non-immutable storage as well. So it depends. Some of our clients specifically want the data on non-immutable. So we've got very flexible storage capabilities on both those solutions. And for the Merge1 use case, and sorry, for Merge1, it just flows in the same way, because Merge1 goes into those same, it goes through the Veritas solution set, goes through the classification engine, goes through the indexing. So all the data that we capture with Merge1 falls into that same workflow.
Yes, thank you, Sam. That's great. So that's exactly what James has put down as well. I am also now going to ask you another question that came in. One of them is, what file type will the results be put in when exported? And let me take that. So technically, technically the Merge1 solution is able to capture and then put all the captured information back into the archive. Yes, we do have flexible options of exporting that capture into some standard file formats if they need to be used for, say, surveillance purposes, or need to be exported into say lawyers' systems where they can further be churned into. So yeah, it is flexible. We have options to put in and export in file types, but predominantly the best use case is to put that into your archiving platform and let the archiving platform run your e-discovery workflows to give you that single pane of glass and single source of truth within your archive. So that's on that, Sam. The team is doing a very good job answering all the questions in parallel, but there is one question around backups and archiving. Maybe this is an interesting topic, Sam, where we can spend some time on backing up teams versus archiving teams.
Okay. So when you look at Merge1, it's really around archiving Microsoft Teams and storing it and supervising the data coming in, auditing the data going through Microsoft Teams, and making sure that that data is managed, corrected, and to discover against data in Microsoft Teams. For the backup of Microsoft Teams, if you noticed, we have a solution called NSP, which is Net Backup SaaS protection. And that's all around backing Microsoft workflows. So we do have within our portfolio of digital compliance and the Veritas portfolio a solution designed to back up Microsoft Teams. But when you look at archiving, e-discovery, supervision, that's where Merge1 to play. So we do have the capability to back up Microsoft Teams, but we always look at backing up you back up to restore your data and you archive to supervise and discover against that data. So it depends on the use case you have, but we can cover both use cases.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam. And yeah, very well said. Backup is for recovery, archive is for search. So, as long as you have those two use cases covered, your team's data is well and secure. All right. The next question, that has come up, and it's an interesting one, is what about other chat software on mobile phones, particularly if they're work issued and work controlled mobile phones? So predominantly, I think we do a text message sort of a conversation.
Yeah, we have two options there. We can use our text connectors to be able to capture that data, depending on what we're talking about. If we have certain carriers, like let's say Orange or Rogers or AT&T, whatever it may be, we've got certain solutions that we can also utilize to capture that data. And we've got certain methods for BYOD, bring your own device type situations where those devices are owned by the employees. There's certain things that they have to agree to. And then the corporate owned devices that the corporation has the right to capture, we also have ways to capture that data as well. So if there are specific needs around capturing text messages or WhatsApp or WeChat that are on corporate devices, please reach out to us and we can help you with that.
Brilliant. I think the focus is on WhatsApp and Signal, which is what has come through as questions. But yeah, thanks for that, Sam. All right. The other interesting question is, does Merge1 have any dependencies on the Enterprise Vault version?
No, we can work with any EV version.
Yes, that's the beauty of it. And the flexibility that Merge1 provides is it actually goes along with the Enterprise Vault version that you are running. And the same with, if you have a cloud version of Enterprise Vault, which is ev.cloud, it just seamlessly integrates with your archiving platform. So that's a beauty.
And just I want to touch on something else there that we didn't touch on. One of the things we're doing right now and working on is giving you the ability to discover your data in what we call native mode. So that will allow you to see Teams data. That will be the first one that we do like that. Teams data when you're discovering and searching against it, just like you see it in Teams. So it will give you a full view of it as if you're looking in Teams, and we call that capture in native mode. So you're going to see as the integration continues to take place between the Merge1 and EV Cloud, and as we start advancing and see new requirements, there are some great things on our roadmap. And if anyone on the call is interested in seeing what those are, please reach out and be more than happy to have a one-on-one session with our team and yours to walk you through the great things that are coming down the line.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam. And Sam, one of the slides you had was around a subsidized migration program from on-prem EV to cloud. So there is one question in the chat which talks about how can Veritas help with migrating on-prem EV to EV.cloud. So maybe a little bit of deep dive on the migrate solution as well as the subsidized offer would help.
Okay, sure. So for existing EV clients that want to move to EV Cloud, if they look at EV Cloud and they sign up for a 3-year term, in many cases, we can subsidize most, if not all, the migration to move, because migrating data from one archive to another is quite a costly endeavor. And we want to make it seamless for our clients who are using EV and they want to go to a cloud solution because of their initiatives to move to EV Cloud. So we created the subsidization program. Obviously, we have a little questionnaire. We just need to understand a little bit of the background and the amount of data we're looking at and the amount of users. And that helps us determine we can subsidize over. The migration takes place in a couple different ways. We can do a migration. If a quick migration is required, in many cases, we can go to PST and then send that to our EV Cloud data center, or we can go direct from EV to EV Cloud. So there's different ways that we go about the migration, and because migrations are have different variables to them, we have a short session with our clients who want to take advantage of that subsidization and offering to help them understand exactly how that will take place. But we make it as seamless as possible. We have a great and fantastic team, migration team that's focused on migrations, and we do a lot of that, if not all of it, internally using our own product, Veritas Migrate, to move across the different solutions.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam. There is another interesting question that Dave Flanders has already answered, but I think it's still worth a discussion. Is does Teams include user audit logs for Microsoft Teams, and do we include user audits? And Dave did confirm that yes, we have multiple auditing and reporting functions. So based on a particular use case, we can explore and help you out with how Teams can give you that additional insights on the user audit logs. So that's good. There is another question which says, if there is a requirement to remove captured file or chat for legal reasons, is there a method to be able to remove the data from the discovery or remove it from the archive? So, the short answer is it's a question on how your archive is laid out from a Teams point of view or a capture on Merge point of view. Everything is captured and presented or retained into your archiving platform. If your archiving platform is configured with immutability in there, then you're talking about immutability constraints when it comes to delete. Now it's again how the archiving platform is laid out will define if there is an ability to remove something from that archive or not. But typically, Merge1 will ensure that everything that has been happening within that platform, collaboration platform, will be captured within your Teams, within your archiving platform. So that's that. We then have another question on multiple languages. So can it support multiple languages for compliance? And James has already answered it, but from a Merge1 point of view, we actually collect everything that goes into your archive. Now the intelligence on what is the communication language, what is the communication scope, is all built within the Enterprise Vault or EV.Cloud classification engine, and that is the one that gives you the insights around the language support. So yes, Enterprise Vault does have multi-language support, and that's how your e-discovery searches can be refined and altered. All right, I'm now looking at
and just to add to that as well, we do have many organizations globally. We capture in Merge1 chats in Japanese or in French or in Mandarin, and we're able to send that through to your point, Amit. So yeah, we have no problems with different languages.
Brilliant. I'm looking at a new question. Yes, can we support Thai Japanese language? Okay, that's again on the same lines. James, Dave, and Jermaine, I'm just scrolling randomly on the Q&A. Did I miss out on any questions? Did you want to bring up any questions that we've not answered or we've answered but worth mentioning? All right, so there is one question, Sam, while we look on the others. Is this product more like a surveillance product instead?
Well, no, I would say it is it's a surveillance product, but not only a surveillance product. So you look at Merge1 in two forms, I would say. One is as a surveillance solution. As data is coming, you're capturing the data, you're storing it, you're supervising, you're looking for keywords inside of the data where it's been stored. So it is a surveillance solution, but it's also a collection tool. So surveillance is for supervision, collection is for discovery. So if you need to discover data that's not being surveilled, you can also use Merge1 for that. So the answer is yes, but not only a surveillance tool, but also a collection tool for e-discovery and discovery purposes.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think the other way of looking at it is with the 80+ content sources that come in, you are now able to put all of that together in a single pane of glass and single source of truth kind of an archive, which, without changing your existing e-discovery processes and methodologies, you can still go straight and run your searches on new content beyond emails. Perfect. So that's good. Thanks, Sam. And there is a question on the Zoom virtual meetings, but I think Jermaine has answered that quite well. There is an open question now, and what is the integration with the likes of Splunk if we are implementing this?
Right. So if you currently don't have an archive and you do have the data going into a solution like Splunk, Merge1 can send the data to multiple locations. So if Splunk could I'm not too familiar with Splunk myself, I know about it, but how the storage is identified, we can put it into a file share on Splunk if that's an option. So that's something we can investigate to see it. And I don't know if we have any users doing it with Splunk, so we'd have to check into that. Again, we have hundreds of users. I'm not familiar with all of them. But how Merge1 works is it's really agnostic, if you will. We can send it to any SMTP address, and we can send it to any file server location. If Splunk has a certain API that's needed to put the data inside of it, then we'd have to just investigate if any of our generic connectors can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking that one step further, all the capture that has happened through Merge1 is then indexed and classified by the archiving platform here in case EV. So there was one more question, Sam, around the indexing of Splunk versus what we can expect out of Merge1. And the short answer is, in this particular discussion or solution, we have the Merge1 running the capture, and then the enterprise vault running the indexing and the classification for e-discovery. So the indexing is separate out of the Merge1 solution. And again, as Sam said, it's flexible. We can point it to an SMTP target or a file share based on where your requirement is. So that's good. That covers Splunk. There's one more question on a use case, Sam. Client has Enterprise Vault and Discovery Accelerator with journaling only. Moving to Office 365, and the journaling will be transitioned to Enterprise Vault. That's the SMTP way of doing EV journaling. How do you position Merge1 for Teams capture when client is looking at multiple options of archiving? So one way of looking at this is because you have your journaling already put in with Enterprise Vault, you have a single source of truth coming in out of Enterprise Vault. Now if I have Teams chat messages to come in, it's always better to put all of that into that single source of truth Enterprise Vault archive. And you then have beyond emails, you have more content that can be searched using the same methodology. That's one. But Sam, anything additional that you want to add here?
Yeah, absolutely. So if can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Yes, so if I understood the question correctly, it's why would we archive the data into EV instead of keeping it into M365? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, there's quite a few reasons. One is if you've used our discovery solution, then you can see that we have message threading, which you don't typically get in M365. You see that we store the data in immutable storage. You guys have all seen a few incidents where MS Teams messages have been wiped out by recent changes that occurred. We have it in an immutable location inside of EV or EV Cloud, or in a redundant location that allows you to store that data and always have it available. So even if there is a loss of data within the Microsoft ecosystem, we still have that data on our end. And then being able to store and discover everything in a similar manner across all your different platforms tends to be a great use case. Putting things in through a classification engine that allows you to supervise data as coming through. There's many different reasons to do so. And James, if you want to add anything here as well outside of that, I know you also see a lot of customers who put MS Teams data into our solutions. Feel free to chime in.
Yeah, definitely. So just as Sam mentioned, we do have quite a number of customers placing a lot of data into our compliance solutions. Really, the biggest thing is that there's within the United States and imagine around the world, there's been precedents that these typical non-email type of communications need to be gathered and reviewed because of just the nature of the information that's being communicated. So Merge1 is an excellent choice of gathering all that kind of a communication to be reviewed, both from a financial surveillance, a regulatory requirement, but also from an instance of e-discovery. A lot of times in the past, there's been an excuse that collecting non-email communications has been expensive or time-consuming or complex. But as you've seen today, Merge1 takes a lot of complexity out of that out of the environment, and it's actually a very cost-effective solution to mitigate those risks in regards to regulatory compliance, both from a financial perspective as well as e-discovery.
Thanks, James. That's good. I'll keep moving further. The other question was around, does Merge1 also have analytics feature which can help our end users perform their reviews efficiently? And
so, go ahead, Amit. Did you want to finish?
No. Go for it, Sam.
Yeah, so there's light analytics in Merge1, things like where the data is coming from, how much data is coming from each source, and whatnot. But the deep analytics come from our archiving and supervision solutions that you can dig into that, and our classification solutions can show you exactly what type of data is in the archive, where it's located, what's coming through, what keywords you're seeing more of. So you can see a lot more in our archive solution, but Merge1 has light analytics, but not the deep analytics at the Merge1 level. Because again, think of Merge1 as you capture the data from all the locations, it does all the work for you with the APIs of those 80+ solutions, takes it, transforms it, threads it, makes it easy, and then sends it to our EV. So we didn't want to build additional analytics into Merge1 that we already have in our other digital compliance solutions. So light analytics in Merge1, deep analytics across the rest of our portfolio.
Brilliant, thanks, Sam. And that actually is in line with what we're hearing from our customers as well, where your primary mode of analysis is your discovery framework, whereas capture framework is just your analytics around how much is a particular source creating activity in general. So that's perfect. There is one question on the chat, which is, can you clarify, can third-party tools access data in Enterprise Vault for e-surveillance? Let me chime in here. So the way to get information or data out of Enterprise Vault is using either Discovery Accelerator or making sure that you are running searches on the Enterprise Vault archive. And once you have an export created, is how that export could actually then be given to an external party. It could be lawyers, it could be an e-surveillance objective. We can work through that, but I don't know if that answers the question, and happy to follow up, and we can take it from there. All right, we have a few more questions that have come in. Okay, so the other question, and maybe Dave, since you've already answered this question, maybe Dave, you want to jump in, Any encryption in place, data compression ratio, especially to image file formats? Dave, did you want to take this?
Yeah, sure, Amit. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, perfect. So for each Merge1 connector, we configure it with the APIs of the actual source. So all of that is configured and set up with compression, or not with compression, with security, so that we can ensure that it is securely transferred from the actual source through Merge1 and passed along to the archive in secure fashion. We actually maintain the message as it is. We don't change anything with Merge1, and that is for compliance purposes. That's one of the main components of what we need to do when capturing data, is not change that data in any way, so that we can pass it along to the archive and maintain that full chain of custody the entire way. Once it's in the archive, it's the archive's job to do any sort of compression, single instance storage, any of those other functions. Those are done at the archive level. So Merge1 doesn't actually do that compression.
Yeah, it does end-to-end encryption, though, to Dave's point. That's correct. So whatever the highest level of encryption that's capable, from the in-flight encryption to at-rest encryption within Merge1, and then to in-flight on the other side. So we do encryption across the board, end-to-end.
Brilliant. And we are almost at the top of the hour. There are some questions, Sam, which are inclining towards the interest on knowing the roadmap. So maybe what we'll do is, we'll reach out to these people individually and line up some sessions on, their areas of interest versus how our Veritas roadmap is evolving. For all the other questions, I think we've done a very good job. There are 3 more questions that we may not have answered. So I'll probably take one question now, and then I'll run the sign off. So can Merge1 read words within the image file? And Dave is already answering that question, but Sam, did you want to briefly throw your thoughts on it?
Words within the image file. I'd have
Yeah,
to check
I'll
into
take
that.
it, Sam. Yeah, I'll take the Sam. Yeah, it's not a Merge1 function to do that.
Right.
So Merge1 will capture that image file from whatever the location, if it's in a Teams chat or whatever it may be. And then when that gets archived to Enterprise Vault, Enterprise Vault has OCR capabilities. So that again, Merge1 is the capturing capability, and we pass the data. So we aren't doing indexing. We aren't running those functions within Merge1. Those functions are run within the archive. So that's where the indexing will take place.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave. And yeah, that's spot on. All right. I think we've answered all the questions so far. So thank you all for joining in. And Sam and Dave, thank you so much for the insightful session. And to all the panelists, James, Jermaine, Trudy, and Julie, thank you so much for taking the questions and handling the session together. And we have some questions asking for the deck. So Sam, we will share the deck with the audience here. And if there are any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us on the email address that you saw on the deck. And we'd be more than happy to reach out to you and talk through your use case in person. So with that said, signing off for today. Thank you all for joining in. Stay safe at your locations, and your Uber Eats and your lunch vouchers would make it to you via your email. So thank you again. Until next time, see you. Bye-bye. Have a good one.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.